Take down your gate or cough up $50 a day. That's what the HOA notice barked at me, plastered right across my fence like I'd committed some crime against the community. 72 hours to comply, or they'd pile fines on me taller than my coffee stack and heavier than my patience could ever carry. The wild part? That so-called public walkway is the same patch of ground I've strolled through for 8 years straight, without anyone caring, until suddenly it's treated like a federal offense. I couldn't shake the sense that eyes were on me, waiting for me to slip. And the way the president jabbed at maps last night, this didn't feel like neighborhood housekeeping. It felt like a trap, hidden behind community bylaws. Comment what you'd do if you woke up to that notice. I'm pouring coffee when I spot the CCR violation taped to my entryway. 3 days to comply, plus a looming $50 daily fine. I glance at my watch, do the math in my head, then laugh loud enough for nosy neighbors recording with their phones. $50 a day? That's nothing but monopoly money. The claim? That my gate blocks some shortcut. Funny, considering I've been using this same path for nearly a decade without a whisper of complaint. That's when Holly Turner rushes over in her robe, worry written across her face. "Derek, can they really fine you like that?" she asks, clutching her coffee tighter than her robe. Her eyes are full of panic. She's got enough to juggle as a single mom without HOA theatrics spilling onto her lawn. I wave the paper in the air with a grin. They can enforce rules inside common areas, sure, but this strip, outside their reach. That's the crack in their whole case. Inside, I start a checklist on the counter. County acceptance log, subdivision plat stamp, maintenance map. Not random paperwork. These are the backbone of any public road claim. If this path were truly county-owned, the records would prove it. My gut tells me I'll be staring at empty pages instead. I call Clara Benson, a land surveyor I've worked with before. "Clara, I've got a property line mess. Any chance you can fit me in?" She agrees to meet tomorrow with her gear. That gives me 1 day to dig through county files myself. The acceptance log is like a grade book for roads. For land to become county property, engineers have to sign off, commissioners approve, ordinances filed. No signatures? It's private dirt with fancy lines drawn over it. At the courthouse, I ask for the acceptance records on my street. The clerk hauls out a binder, flips to the section, and the page is blank. No signatures, no stamps, not even a scribbled date. Like a classroom roster nobody ever showed up for. "So this was never actually accepted as public road?" I ask. She shakes her head and gestures to the maintenance map. No entry in the log means no county responsibility. I snap photos of both the empty ledger and the maintenance map. The evidence is clear, but I know the HOA won't drop it quietly. Their CCR only stretches as far as the subdivision. If this strip lies outside, their notice means nothing. I drive home buoyed by the law, but there's a knot in my stomach. It feels too clean, too simple. Cynthia Drake didn't claw her way to HOA president by backing down. Back at the gate, the notice flutters in the breeze. That deadline feels more like a countdown than a warning. I crumple the paper, then flatten it again to read the words carefully. The language feels sharp, like it's meant to cut. They're not asking for cooperation. They're demanding surrender. Holly appears again, this time with her 8-year-old daughter tugging at her side. "Did you find anything at the courthouse?" she asks. I show her the photos. "It's like a diary no one ever wrote in," I tell her. "The county never accepted this as public land." Her shoulders ease, but her daughter blurts out, pointing at the gate, "Why do the angry people want to tear down the nice entry?" Kids always hit the truth head-on. Why indeed? I crouch to her level. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes about who owns what, but we have proof this gate belongs here. What I don't say is that some mistakes are intentional. As night falls, I study the notice again. All that legal jargon is smoke and mirrors. No county acceptance means no public road. No public road means no HOA control. No control means their violation is as worthless as the paper it's printed on, but the tone still gnaws at me. Too confident, too certain for people who should know better. I set it on the counter, refill my coffee. Tomorrow Clara will mark the lines. Tomorrow I'll have hard proof where my land ends and this so-called trail begins. But tonight, I can't shake the feeling Cynthia Drake has plans far bigger than a zoning dispute. The clock is ticking, and I'm not the only one watching. Clara shows up at 7 a.m., her survey gear packed in the back of her truck. We haul the tripod and rods to the disputed strip, our breath fogging in the crisp morning air. Holly stands by with her camera, documenting every step as Clara sets up. That's when Cynthia storms in, binder in hand, marching across the grass like she owns it. CCR Section 12.4 covers all pathways in our development, she announces, skipping greetings. I pause my notes and look up. CCR can't turn dirt into roads, Cynthia. Only the county can do that. She flips open her binder, thrusting a subdivision plat at us. Clara studies it, then motions me over. Derek, look, this says 10-foot utility drainage easement. I lean closer. The text is crystal clear. Utility and drainage, not roadway, not public access. Pipes don't equal streets, and easements don't equal HOA property. Cynthia's composure starts to slip. She flips through more pages, searching for backup. Holly snaps another photo and asks what we're all thinking. If it's really a public road, wouldn't the county maintain it? I nod, pulling out my phone to show them yesterday's evidence. The log is empty, no approvals, no signatures, nothing. Clara finishes her measurements and confirms the property lines. My gate sits fully on my land, with room to spare. No encroachment, no blocked road, no violation. Holly live streams. Cynthia's reaction as she insists, this survey doesn't change anything. The board voted unanimously to enforce it. I almost admire her determination, even if it defies logic. Unanimous votes don't rewrite law, I tell her. You could vote that shadows are walls, but belief doesn't make it true. Holly laughs at the image, and Cynthia bristles. She gathers her binder and storms toward the street. Clara shakes her head as she packs up her gear. In 2 decades of surveying, I've never once seen anyone dispute a transit reading, Clara tells me. Numbers don't lie, even when people wish they did. We wrap up the documentation, and she promises her official report will be ready by tomorrow afternoon. Holly heads back home, clearly feeling much better about everything. As I gather the survey stakes, something unusual catches my eye in the mailbox. A new envelope I know wasn't there an hour ago. The bold red stamp across the front reads, Urgent Property Lien Notice. Inside is a draft letter threatening to place a lien on my property for failure to comply with community standards. The document, dated today and signed by all 5 board members, carries a far harsher tone than yesterday's warning slip. They're now threatening to officially record a lien against my deed if I don't tear down the entry within the original 3-day deadline. The escalation blindsides me. This is no longer a simple boundary disagreement solvable with surveys and county records. Cynthia is prepared to attack the title of my home just to win. That kind of drastic step tells me she's after more than HOA rule enforcement. I need to uncover her real motive before she follows through. Now I finally have proof they're wrong about jurisdiction. The question is, will they even let me use it? The next morning, Holly pounds on my door at 6:30, still in her pajamas and furious. Derek, you need to see this right now, she demands, motioning toward the disputed strip. All 4 survey stakes have been moved at least 3 feet from where Clara set them yesterday. What was a neat square layout now looks like a warped checkerboard. Neighbors pause to watch, some filming with raised brows. I glare at the tampered markers, jaw tight. They really think shifting wooden posts erases 2 decades of records. This proves what they are. Cornered animals lashing out. Holly snaps photos with her phone, capturing the evidence. Fresh dirt clings to the stake bases, and the original holes are still visible nearby. Sloppy vandalism that only strengthens our case. I immediately call Clara. She arrives with replacement markers and her equipment, shaking her head. Tampering with survey monuments is a misdemeanor in this state, she reminds me while resetting the lines. Surveyors build their reputation on accuracy. Interfering like this isn't just unethical, it's illegal. We spend the morning redocumenting everything with extensive photos. Clara explains that the corner record acts like a treasure map. It identifies property lines, and in this case, the corners land squarely on my lot. The original subdivision survey clearly shows fixed boundaries unchanged for 20 years. No amount of stake moving can alter deeds etched into public record. Later, I drive to the county office and file a public records request for documents related to road acceptance, maintenance, and approvals for our subdivision. The clerk stamps my request, telling me the results will take 3 business days. I'm not asking permission, I reply, just requesting the public truth. That afternoon, I receive an emailed maintenance map from the county. It outlines road service zones, snow removal, upkeep, emergency access. The disputed strip appears as a blank white void. The county has never maintained this land because they never accepted it as public. I print copies and line them up against Clara's survey. They match perfectly. The blank space corresponds exactly with the utility easement on the subdivision plat. Water and sewer lines run beneath it. But no county crews, no service vehicles, no recognition as a public road. That evening, I sit on my porch reviewing everything. Survey notes, county records, photos of the tampering, maps, professional reports. All of it points to one truth. This is private property with a utility easement, not a public pathway. Just to strip the HOA waves like a fake banner of authority. Around 8 Sawai, Clara calls with more news. "Derek, I found something about your HOA president," she says. 6 months ago, Cynthia Drake filed a personal request with the county to get an exception. She wanted that strip converted into an amenity trail. The revelation hits me like ice water. Why would she want that? I ask, though I already suspect. Amenity trails boost property values, especially for homes that border them, Clara explains. She could be planning a sale, or maybe there's another financial angle. The picture is becoming clear and ugly. I step outside, staring at my entry with new eyes. This isn't about safety or emergency access. It's about property values and Cynthia's personal profit. She needs my barrier gone so she can justify converting private land into an HOA amenity, one that benefits her property value at the expense of my security. If they think sabotage will stop me, they've just dug themselves deeper. The county records arrive sooner than expected, delivered in a fat manila envelope labeled Public Records Response. I spread the papers across my dining table like puzzle pieces, searching for the one clue that will end this once and for all. Most pages are blanks or stamped, no records found. But buried in the stack, I find it, a faded microfilm copy of a temporary construction permit from 2001. The expiration date, 2001, is faint but legible. Clara arrives just as I'm squinting at the details, bringing a magnifying glass from her kit. We huddle over it like archaeologists. This permit is decades sour, yet the HOA still pretends it has power, I mutter. Clara points to the wording. Temporary construction access, valid until December 31st, 2001. She looks up, eyebrows raised. Derek, this was never meant to be a permanent road. Just a temporary path for construction vehicles. The weight of it sinks in, and I exhale sharply. So for 24 years, people have been calling this a public path based on a permit that expired when Bush was still in his first term. Clara nods, photographing the document. In our field, this is called a paper street. It exists on paper, but not in reality. The microfilm includes more detail. The temporary access was granted only for utility work and construction. Nothing permanent. No public access, no county maintenance, and certainly no HOA jurisdiction. I grab my laptop and search county records for any ordinance converting this permit into permanent access. After an hour of digging through codes, zoning files, and road acceptances, I confirm what I expected. Nothing. No ordinance means it remains a paper street, a line on paper, never accepted or built. The county surplus listing Clara mentioned now makes sense. On the property description, I read the key phrase aloud. Never accepted as public right-of-way. The county itself is advertising they have no responsibility for this land. They're trying to unload it because keeping up a property they never wanted costs them money. I call the county surplus office and get a clerk on the phone who walks me through the bidding rules. All sealed bids must be in by 5 p.m. Friday. She explains the minimum is $500 and whoever offers the most wins a clean title. $500 to close this fight forever. Cheap enough to be tempting, yet costly enough to strangle Cynthia's schemes. Clara advises we first set up a boundary agreement with my rear neighbor before I make any offer. If you're going to own this strip, you need crystal clear borders with everyone who touches it, she says. We'll sign not only on paper, but right at the property markers themselves to lock the lines beyond question. Smart. The last thing I want is a border fight with a reasonable neighbor. That afternoon I meet my back neighbor, a retired teacher who has lived here longer than anyone. He remembers when the houses first went up and confirms the strip was always meant as a temporary access path. The agreement takes less than an hour. Clara marks the exact lines, we all sign, and suddenly the land I'm about to buy has clean edges. I open escrow to make sure the deal is legally airtight. That night, I sit at my kitchen table staring at the sealed envelope in front of me. Inside my bid, $2,000, 4 times the minimum, plus a cashier's check and all the documents. My hands shake like I'm holding dynamite as I press the seal. One shot to end this for good. And I know Cynthia won't sleep tonight. Monday morning, the phone jolts me awake. Mr. Lawson, this is Janet from the surplus office. Congratulations. You're the winning bidder for parcel 478921. I set my coffee down carefully, stunned. $2,000 just bought me full ownership of the strip Cynthia once flaunted as her stage curtain of control. When can I pick up the deed? I ask, already grabbing my keys. I remember my hand trembling like I was sealing a live wire inside that envelope Friday. I whispered to myself, one chance to end this properly. Sealed bids are like secret ballots. Highest number wins. No noise, no drama. Clean, fair, transparent. And now that I've won, the effect is huge. The HOA can't claim authority over land they don't own. Game over. The timing couldn't be better. Just as I'm celebrating, Cynthia drops another aggressive lien threat in my mailbox, this one demanding immediate compliance or legal action. I skim it aloud, then mutter, to call something a common path. The HOA would need to actually own it. Instead, it's private land with a blank county record. Later that day, the official high bidder letter arrives earlier than expected, delivered by courier with seals and signatures. I smile as I read the confirmation. No shouting crowds, no fake HOA meetings, just an envelope and a check succeeding where weeks of threats failed. Holly rushes over when she sees the county car in my driveway. Is everything okay? She asks nervously. I show her the bidder notice, and her face shifts from worry to disbelief. You actually bought it? She asks. I nod. I didn't just buy land, Holly. I bought back my peace and Cynthia's sleepless nights and erased any HOA jurisdiction. The merger deed takes most of the afternoon, but it's worth every second. Clara helps me with the legal wording while a notary witnesses the signatures. It feels like snapping 2 Lego bricks together. From now on, the disputed strip and my property are one parcel under single ownership. No boundary fights, no jurisdiction questions. My attorney reviews the papers before filing. He laughs and congratulates me. Derek, you turned a dispute into a real estate acquisition. You didn't argue about authority, you erased the issue entirely. Sometimes brilliance looks simple. Just as I'm going over the final documents, the phone rings. Cynthia. Her tone is sharp. Mr. Lawson, the HOA board will take legal action if you don't comply with our notice. I pause for effect. Cynthia, as of this afternoon, I own the land you're calling a public path. Silence. 10 long seconds. Then she snaps, that's impossible. You can't just buy public land, I chuckle. It was never public. The county's been trying to sell it for years. I submitted the winning bid. Now it's private, which means your CCRs don't apply. Their entire case just collapsed. No public road means no HOA power. And without HOA power, their violation letters are worth monopoly money. I can almost hear her blood pressure rising. At midnight, the merger deed officially combines the 2 parcels. Tomorrow I'll record it with the courthouse. Clara will install permanent survey markers so everything is documented and permanent. The land is mine, but the real battle is only beginning. Tuesday morning, a county code officer arrives in a white pickup, clipboard in hand. 5 minutes later, Cynthia shows up clutching a hand-drawn map with neon arrows and highlights. I mutter, nice crayons, Cynthia. Shame no county seal will touch it. Holly comes outside, eager to watch. The officer, Mike Rodriguez, introduces himself and says he's here to check emergency access and fire code compliance. I understand there's been a dispute about public access, he says, eyeing my barrier. Cynthia launches into her safety speech. Mike listens politely, then asks the key question. Do you have the county ordinance number accepting this as a roadway? Cynthia freezes, fumbling through her drawings and HOA papers. I add dryly, Maybe she thinks HOA meetings create county law. Mike suppresses a grin, then pulls up the county database on his tablet. After typing in the address, he shakes his head. No ordinance on file. Records show this as private property with utility easements. Soon a county traffic engineer arrives in a truck almost too big for our street. Together they walk my property while I show them the alternate emergency route I've kept open. The engineer actually drives his giant truck through it, testing turns and clearance. Big as an elephant, I tell Holly later, and it still fit perfectly, meeting every safety standard. Mike checks the width of the alternate route and confirms it exceeds the minimum clearance required for emergency vehicles. He notes on his inspection sheet that a fire truck could easily maneuver through. According to County Fire Code Section 12.7, this path qualifies as compliant emergency access. Cynthia's safety claim just evaporated. You can't argue blocked access when a fully approved alternative exists. The traffic engineer pulls up county records on his tablet for everyone to see. No signatures, no dates of acceptance, no maintenance agreements, he explains, directing the comment toward Cynthia. I speak just loud enough for the crowd. Doesn't matter how loud anyone shouts, this file is still nothing but blank lines. Holly turns to the small group of neighbors gathered for the inspection. She clarifies, the county record shows this was always private land with utility easements. Several neighbors nod, and I can literally see opinion shifting as the facts come straight from neutral officials. Mike wraps up his checklist and gets ready to file his report. But before leaving, he mentions something that catches my attention. The county system contains a note about a policy exception request submitted 6 months earlier. Someone had asked to convert this strip into a recreational trail. He shows us the record on his tablet. The request came from Cynthia Drake, filed under her own address, with a request for expedited approval. The crowd reacts like a bomb just went off. Cynthia had been pushing for a trail conversion while also claiming the area was already public land. The conflict of interest couldn't be clearer. So she stood to personally profit from turning private property into an HOA amenity, I say, as neighbors lift phones to record her red face for future replay. Murmurs ripple through the group while Cynthia flushes deeper with embarrassment. Mike packs his inspection gear and the traffic engineer prints out a hard copy of his notes. My research now stands fully validated by county authorities. Private property, no ordinance of acceptance, no maintenance agreement, no rights of public access. Every single document points to the same conclusion. One neighbor voices the question on everyone's mind. If Cynthia knew this land was private, why did she issue violation slips? The answer is quickly becoming obvious, personal financial gain masquerading as community enforcement. She wanted a trail to boost her property value, and my entryway blocked her plan. The inspection closes with Mike issuing an official letter confirming that my entryway and the alternate access both comply with county fire codes and emergency requirements. No violations, no corrections needed, he declares, snapping photos for the file. Holly photographs the letter while neighbors continue buzzing about Cynthia's hidden motives. As the county vehicles roll away, I feel a wave of vindication. This was never about safety or HOA power. It was about one person twisting authority for personal benefit. And I suspect this inspection is only the beginning of Cynthia's accountability troubles. Tomorrow, the last piece falls into place. The fire marshal himself is scheduled to conduct a full inspection of access routes, Knox box placement, and fire code compliance. Once he signs off, Cynthia will have no ground left to stand on. Tomorrow, the fire marshal decides my ownership stands or Cynthia's empire collapses. The next morning, in the courthouse lobby, the recorder's voice echoes deed number 2024-08-1749, recorded this 23rd day of September. Just a line of numbers, but it outweighs every baseless threat. I sign the transfer papers with Clara witnessing, officially taking ownership of what Cynthia once used as her stage of control. The merger is permanent, sealed into public record. Fire Marshal Alan Brooks arrives as the Ballard crew finishes installation. 4 bright yellow steel posts wrapped in reflective tape mark the corners of my land like gravestones for their former claim of authority. Alan inserts his master key into the Knox box. The metallic click confirms proper installation. Emergency access meets every requirement. He walks the route with a measuring tape, double-checking turning radius, width, and surface stability. With 14 feet of clearance and no obstructions, his checklist ends in full approval. But the bigger revelation comes when Alan shares the county records he pulled. Buried in the development files is evidence of Cynthia's personal financial interest in the trail conversion. She owns 3 rental properties in the subdivision's back cluster, properties that would spike in value with trail access. So she dressed up a profit scheme as an HOA amenity project, I remark. The news spreads quickly. By mid-afternoon, homeowners are demanding an emergency board meeting. Holly circulates a group email questioning whether other HOA decisions were similarly tainted. For the first time, the community sees what I've suspected all along. This was never about safety. That evening, in the clubhouse, I attend the emergency meeting as an observer, not a defendant. The other 4 board members confront Cynthia with documentation of her request and her rental investments. The vote is unanimous, no confidence, 4-0. She is ordered to resign immediately, turning over all records and access codes. The State HOA Oversight Board opens an investigation into misuse of authority, unlawful violation slips, and breach of fiduciary duty. Cynthia now faces personal liability, including repayment of legal costs to affected homeowners. While the meeting continues, Alan Brooks finishes his final safety check outside. The Knox box closes with a vault-like snap, sealing away any future HOA claims. My entry stands on private property, fully approved by the fire department. The next morning, a courier delivers the final piece, a permanent sign reading "No Trespassing, Private Property, Deed, Ducker Duwandus 24 Z08 11749. Clara installs it on one of the new ballards, a gleaming monument to real documentation outweighing empty threats. In the following weeks, Cynthia's downfall continues. Financial audits reveal she funneled HOA amenity funds into trail feasibility studies without approval, thousands spent to benefit her rentals. Restitution and potential criminal charges loom. I watch from my porch as Cynthia packs boxes from the HOA office, overseen by the remaining board. Her replacement, a retired accountant, promises transparent books and strict adherence to actual HOA authority. The community is learning the difference between governance and power trips. Standing beside my locked barrier, coffee in hand, I exhale relief mixed with fire. This barrier doesn't just keep out trespassers, it shuts the door on abuse. Watching the sun flash off the yellow ballads, I feel proof that persistence and paperwork can silence even the loudest threats. Maybe the real lesson is simple. Authority without true ground is just noise. If you're still reading, tell me in the comments, what do you think of this story and what would you have done?